everything in our garage is inspired by our racing spirit. Race in for a great deal on the Honda CR-V. Only at the Honda Dream Garage Spring Event.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. It's a beautiful day here in June. The harvest is out, the first one of the year, and the boys making the best of the summer, the boys of summer that is, of Formula 4 United States Championship. We are live here and across the internet. We welcome you to all the action from the first of 3 races for F4 here in Mid-Ohio. And I'm joined by the current FR Championship leader, Raoul Hyman of Great Britain, born in South Africa, but, well, we claim as our own if you're a Brit, because he's good and he's going well at the moment. Raoul, welcome aboard. You've already had a good start to your day, a win on the board, so you've won at every track so far.
Yes, well, firstly, thanks for having me. It's great to be making my commentary debut.
Well, you've got to get in the commentary booth when you keep winning.
Well, I mean, hopefully I can carry on winning, and maybe I'll make another appearance. But let's see how this one goes first. We'll see how my voice sounds. But happy to be here. And as you mentioned, I've had a really good start to the day. Was able to win in race 1, which was actually quite a tricky race. So it'll be interesting to see how the F4 guys get along, because I know that the track was really quite slippery in that session. It's very hot out here. I think it's about 28 to 30 degrees. Well, this is in Celsius. I'm not too sure what that is in Fahrenheit. Maybe about 90. Yep. But in addition to that, you've got the Trans Am rubber that's just gone down on the circuit, and that really alters the balance of. You might see that in the start of the race, the F4 drivers are actually struggling a bit with grip. The lap times might be quite high, but as the race goes on, the lap times will come down, and things might get a little bit more straightforward.
Raoul, while we get the warm-up lap, I want to put this perspective. You are in the FR Championship. We met when you were doing TRS, a very similar car that's in New Zealand. Yep. But this F4 is effectively your first chance, pretty much, at a karting to try slicks and wings. And if you can describe what that's like as somebody who's come through the ranks, not necessarily doing F4, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a big difference, and also data gathering. You're working with an engineer for the first time. So for a lot of these youngsters, some of young as 15, this is quite a big opening and quite a big change to their careers.
Yes, I mean it is a very big jump, and it does take a how would I say, a different approach in order to get time out of a single-seater rather than a go-kart. I mean, a lot of these guys would have come straight out of go-karting, having not driven much else. So I remember my first ever Formula 4 test. It wasn't this current iteration of the car, but it was a BRDC Formula 4. It was a track. It wasn't a permanent track. It's called Blyton Park out in the UK. And I remember going there, and when I first realized that something is very different was I kept going faster in one of the high-speed corners, and I kept having more grip. So it's almost like skiing, where if you're doing it right, I mean, I've only skied once, and I managed to dislocate my shoulder, so I wasn't doing it right. But away from the slope, in order to actually get the technique correctly. So here, you have to go faster to feel like you have more grip in a high-speed corner. Right. And that is quite a different feeling. In a nice analogy, though. I like that. Exactly. Yeah. So it's quite different to how you'd feel in a go-kart. In a go-kart, you have to hold the brake all the way to the apex. You keep a similar pressure. In a car with wings, you have a high pressure to start the braking zone, and then you bleed off of that brake. It's not an isosceles triangle, perhaps actually a right-angle triangle, let's say, but with a bit of a rounded edge, because you're trying to get off the brake as you get to the apex, because you don't want to lock the front wheels. So that's a very different thing to do in F4 as well, or in any sort of single-seater car. But the other thing is the weight transfer, and that's what you really have to get used to. I remember when I first started, there was a driver, his name's Charlie Robertson, and he's now a Ginetta factory driver. But when we started in F4, he had a lot of Ginetta Junior experience, and I had come straight out of karting. But his understanding of the weight transfer was huge compared to mine. Right. And you could see that by understanding that, he just had such a huge advantage over me when we started in F4. And I caught up as we went along, but that was one of the major things. So let's see how these guys get on. We're nearing the start of the race. I'm excited to see the start. I mean, I know from my group position when I was on pole The inside is actually quite slippery.
Okay.
Because obviously no one drives there. So I was a little bit worried to start my race that
it's not the race
that
line,
I'd get a
is
lot
it?
of I'd get a lot of wheel spin. So let's see how Mr. Castro gets on.
Andre Castro, big story here. He's pole position in that 08, that number 8 there. You see the white, blue, and red. And he is having his first race in F4 Americas. He races usually in the USF Juniors Championship. And so this is a big day for him. Al Unser Jr. is looking after him, and he is obviously a Rising Stars racing driver and lining up in pole position. Bryson Morris, a regular. Matt Christensen likewise. Ryan Sheehan, 2 years of running here, all up against him. The red lights come on, and we are away here in the first race of F4 Americas, and a good start by the pole man, but everybody's got a good start. One man on the inside, one man on the outside, and the number 8 has been duffed up severely and dropping down to 3rd place. So maybe that slippery inside that Raoul Hyman was talking about has come to fruition, because into the lead goes the 19, and that is a great start, but not a good one for poor old Andre Castro. He has been beaten up severely there.
The one thing to remember about Andre Castro is he looks like he's done less laps in qualifying.
Whoa, 2 cars pirouetting round.
Oh, quite a few cars off there.
Yeah, well, they're all taking avoiding action, and there's a lot of grass out there. We saw in your race that we'd one of the cars coming in. It was Matt Clark coming in because he got grass in his radiators, and that could be the case. 45 is still running. That's Matt Christensen
making a move on Andre Castro. I think he was actually defending the position.
So full course yellow, not a surprise.
Yep, that makes sense to get those cars cleared.
Raoul, let's have a look at it. Here's what happened. Can you see that's the car that went off. It was one of the Howard cars, and then the number 2 was put off. I think
that's Oliver Wrestling.
Yeah,
he's actually done a pretty good 360 there to keep it pointing in the right direction. I'm not too sure why the other guys went off as well, but perhaps there was something at the apex of turn 2 which forced everyone. Oh, we might see something now. Oh no, that's turn 12.
This is where we are live now from the drone.
Yeah, that's right. So
I tell you what, I know who's going to be muttering. That's Scott Goodyear, because he always gives you guys a pretty thorough talking to before the race weekend. So he won't be happy, because he likes to see clean races, and he was very proud when I spoke to him yesterday that so far it had been pretty clean. But Mid-Ohio, not so much.
Yep, Scott's a driver himself, so he knows what it takes to have clean races, have a strong start, stay out of trouble. I mean, he's got IndyCar experience, so he knows exactly what he's talking about, and he's. I think it's quite interesting. Even in the drivers' briefing, he's trying to build up the drivers as well as discipline them in some. Discipline's a strong word, but in some regard,
educate them.
Yeah, exactly. So I know this will be coming up in our next drivers' briefing as well. But we've got the 12 car stranded. That'll be Ethan Barker, sorry.
Yeah, he's a Houston, Texas boy. I met his father earlier this weekend. This is his first year, and they really are learning on the fly. He's very much an oval and midget guy, and done a lot of SCCA, but not done single-seaters before. So this is a bit of a baptism of fire for Barker, but...
yeah, I mean, it's a shame for him, because when you're coming into single-seaters and into F4 at a track like this...
Might see something more from this angle. Here we go, one. There's the Howard car off.
I see. Okay, so someone's gone off on the inside, because they probably came out of turn 2 side by side.
Yeah.
And where the car stopped on the track, someone had to just get out of the way. And that's caused a lot of the drivers to go onto the grass to
Raoul, I've seen a lot of IndyCar races here, and the outside of turn 1, if you get on the grass there, and it doesn't matter what kind of series you're in, but if you get on the grass there, it's really hard, A, to get back on, but also it's hard for others to take avoiding action.
Exactly, yes. The thing about the grass here is it's actually very bumpy.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that, if you're able to do a track walk, or, I mean, even if you look on the camera at some of the shots on the side of the track, you can see that it's not quite like a mowed lawn where it's just flat. So when you get onto the grass, you have to be prepared to just get out of it completely, because you're going to be bounced around. And if you're staying on the throttle, when you land at an angle, you'll probably just spin.
Well, that's interesting, because I've seen a fair few track walks and a fair few racer drivers in my time. Do you actually go out to the exit of some of the corners and see what's there just in case?
Well, I'll tell you a story, and it's made me take a lot more notice on the track walk. Is in Asian F3, I remember.
Well, you don't want to go off track there.
Well, exactly. You might hit some snakes and dogs and so on. No, but this was in a race at Ningbo in China.
Now you were champion of Asian.
Yes,
F3,
yes, that's correct. So on the way to that, they're all coming to the pits. That's interesting.
So they've red flagged it. Obviously, there's some problems for the track itself because we've red flagged this. But carry on in your story. We've got time.
So on Asian in the track at Ningbo, we did the track walk, but I think I didn't realize that I should also be looking at escape roads. I should be looking at where escape roads feed out as well, and how they could be used. So what happened was that we went into a corner. It's I think turn 5 there. It's after the back straight, so it's a big stop. I went onto the outside to overtake someone to take the lead of the race. This was on the first lap. I had a pretty good first couple of corners, actually. I was 5th, I got to 2nd. And I'm now leading into that corner, and the guy on the inside just refused to give it up, which is his right. And he pushes me off, which is fair enough. But I went off the track onto the escape road and came immediately back onto the track. But what I realized afterwards, because that caused me to lose a couple positions, and then, it was a tough track to overtake on, and then I got stuck in traffic and all this kind of thing. But when I looked at the video afterwards, if I just stayed on the escape road, I would have come out and I probably would have carried on leading, and I would have kept the lead because it's not as if he got ahead of me into the corner.
Yeah, and you would have been in the right because
exactly. Yeah. So when you ask if we're looking at the grass and things like that on the track walks, it is worth doing. It's also worth looking at escape roads. It's worth looking at where, the grass can sometimes. You can use it, to sort of carry some minimum speed. So, for instance, the exit of turn 11.
Yeah.
If you clip the grass there, it's not the worst thing in the world because it's the unloaded tire for turn 12.
Right.
So if the tire is slightly dirty, it's not as if you're going to have a huge disadvantage. Now, I'm not talking about like half the car on the grass, but I'm talking about just a tiny bit of the outer side of the tire wall. If you see from the cockpit that it'll have a tiny bit of dirt on it, that's not going to change the world. So it's the same at the exit of turn 1. You'll see some dirt coming off of there every now and again because it's sandy where the curb is. It's not just grass. And also the same out of turn 9. So this is quite an interesting track. You don't have this at other circuits. I haven't seen it like this, where in the qualifying we had to actually account for people going off, bringing dirt onto the track.
Yeah.
And you're changing brake references just from that. So it's a very interesting track. It's not conventional, but I think that's why a lot of people will say it's one of their favorites.
Well, here is the Crosslink Kiwi Motorsport car of Bryson Morris. And, of course, Crosslink, one of the top teams in F4. Bryson Morris, I was talking to the team about him, and they've got some good confidence about his capabilities, no question about it. And almost a case of survival, really, because we have several guys, including Arturo, the pole man, going off, or at least losing out as we come to this red flag situation here. But Ryan Sheehan in the 66 had 1 pole position at VIR last year, but he's currently in 2nd. And then the 45 of Matt Christiansen. So as we're under red flag situations, we've got some clearance to do. We've had several cars off. You've been listening to Raoul Hyman, who's leading the FR Americas Championship at the moment. But as you can see, the cars are all in the pit lane and waiting effectively for this situation to be cleared, including this man who was the pole. And that is the number 8, and all the way down to 4th position, Andre Castro, after that first start. But he'll recover, I'm sure.
Yep.
And then Noah Ping.
Yep, Noah Ping in, what is that, 5th? Or I think it's 5th. And it looks like he's got some pretty good pace. I mean, he was only 0.37 off of pole position.
Raoul, we're going to get another replay. Let's take a look closely at it because we've got time to do so. Here's the start, and you can see one car, that's the Howard car, goes off.
That's right.
The number 2 basically reacts to that, and then basically the dust causes chaos.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So it looks like the car that was a bit further back, so not the Howard car, the other light blue one. I'm not too sure what the number was on that.
I think that's the number 2. Yeah, Oliver Westling.
That's right. It was Westling, yes, that's right.
Yes. Maddie House gets through it.
Yep.
But yeah,
she's done a good
cars.
job, actually, because she stayed on track and probably gained quite a few positions there.
Yep.
So
never easy. You've got a double-edged situation when you see that. You've got to take advantage of it if you can, but you've also got to not get yourself in trouble. As we look at Gabriel Fonseca, his 2nd season also in the F4 Championship, one of the Brazilians. And we've had some great success from Brazilian entries, of course, in the lower formula over the years. And Arturo Flores, young Mexican driver, in the number 22.
And then, of course, Alex Berg in P8. He was here yesterday, I believe, or a bit earlier. So there's a vested interest for our viewers.
Yeah, no kidding. Lockie Hughes leads the championship, the young Gold Coast Australian for Jay Howard Development. He has, at the moment, just got the one win, but he's been the most consistent. He has 95 points. Matt Christensen, who's second at the moment in this race, second in the championship on 87 points. There's Alex Berg.
Yeah, no, I didn't drive through the door.
I mentioned him earlier, and of course he was doing commentary with me, and he said, watch out for my pink lid, the young Canadian, and you can see it resplendently there. I wonder if he's made up a few places. I think he has, you know. And so that's good news. Madison Ausio, you mentioned, she's up to 14th already. Alex Berg up to 8th, and he started 9th, so he's got one place. And then Isambard, Alan Isambard just behind him. So everybody, I don't know, is this a hard situation to be sat there in the cockpit doing nothing, or is it a chance to get more intel from your engineer?
Look, I think everyone would have done the preparation beforehand. So it's a bit odd because now you've got a break in the rhythm.
Yeah.
So it depends on...
And also your adrenaline's
exactly,
got all prepared,
yeah.
And suddenly it's... Bleh.
Exactly, and you've been priming your body as well for performance at a certain time. So now you're going to be sitting in the car. There's a lot of heat soak as well. I mean, I know from when I was sitting on the pre-grid, that was the hottest time of the race because you're not moving and there's no airflow.
Yeah, people don't give credit to how much asphalt holds heat.
Exactly,
And then you put yourself in a metal box with a very large hot metal piece behind you.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is the engines, the water temperatures, the oil temperatures.
Yeah.
I'm surprised actually that we're not seeing a lot of fans. Perhaps it's regulated that you're not allowed.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the Formula Regional car at least it doesn't seem as susceptible to it.
You mentioned fans.
There you go.
There
the fans are waiting for some action.
They don't look too unhappy, do they? They look quite pleasantly happy.
It's a nice day out. I mean, it's not that windy. There's almost blue skies. I mean, it's pretty white in your pictures.
Can you get your Raoul Hyman T-shirts at the official merchandise or not?
I think I have to win a few more races for that. I don't think anybody's queuing up for the T-shirts quite yet, but hopefully we can change that. But I'm looking forward actually to going out and watching. We were seeing the Trans Am cars going around a bit earlier. I want to go up to turn 4, 5, 6, where the undulation is.
Well, I'll introduce you to John Claggett if you fancy a go.
Okay. I'll take you up on that. I hear the H-pattern cars.
Then I'll introduce you to Kerry Hitt, who's done 30 years around here. He's right here in the commentary booth. He's going to be with me later in the day. There's Tony Garcia.
Right.
That's Tony in sprint mode.
Okay.
Yeah, that's full out. That's flat out.
You can almost see the sweat dripping off of it.
He is in full mode there.
I can't take too many shots. I don't know him that well.
No, he's a good lad. He's a good friend of mine. Listen, I do want to ask you this question. You're new to American racing.
Correct.
You've never raced any of these circuits before, but you've done FIA F3. You're an Asian F3 champion. How do you compare the American circuits and the American racing scene in single-seaters compared to what you've done?
I'd actually say it's quite similar to how it was out in New Zealand, where the tracks are almost all very old school.
Yeah,
narrow, but not a huge amount of runoff. Mm-hmm. The style of curbs are a bit different to what you'd get in Europe, where you've got grass and then the curbing.
I'm told the curb's higher in Europe.
Some of them, yes, you're probably correct. The other thing is you also have the double curb. So at some tracks like Red Bull Ring or even Barcelona, I believe, you've got the first red and white part of the curb, and then you've got the lot more aggressive. Usually it's red or blue, and those are very aggressive. So you don't want to have the car on that because it'll vibrate the parts loose, or you might have component failure. So here, you don't really have that. You just have grass, which, to be honest, I prefer because it's difficult. People talk a lot about track limits, but it's harder when it looks like you can drive there. Because bear in mind, there's a lot of geometry going on in the brain. So you take your entry into a corner, you accelerate, you brake at a certain place because your brain is telling you, I can drive there.
Yeah.
When you see grass, it's an immediate... not. Like, do not go there. You'll probably spin. So I prefer this.
You make a good point, because Circuit of the Americas, where I'm based, and of course we have you guys coming there, but we also have F1, and it really annoys me when they talk about, they keep having these arguments about, well, it's track limits, you know, they really shouldn't go all four wheels all over. It's like, look, it's a white line, don't go over it.
Yeah.
If you go over it, you're off the track.
Yes, exactly. I mean, look, it's tough, and at some points, I mean, even I'll be driving, I'm trying to obey the track limits.
Yeah.
And I'll get annoyed with myself because I keep abusing them.
Yeah.
But it's like, why am I doing that? And I'm trying to bring it back, trying to understand.
It's all in the head.
A lot of it is just in the mind, and you have to pay special attention to it. Whereas a track like this, track limits, if you're abusing those, you're in the wall. So,
yep.
I mean, it's a lot more black and white. There's a lot more risks to be taken here as well. So I quite prefer this. And I think, as you know, you were asking about the American scene for racing, a lot of the tracks are quite like this, and I think it sort of speaks to the style of racing here compared to Europe and elsewhere, where it's a lot more old school.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting to me. I quite like it. I'm really enjoying my time here. I enjoy the culture here as well, where everything is very positive. Everyone likes to put a positive spin on everything, where I think that's good, because I don't see the point of bringing people down when something goes wrong. I enjoy, you know, watching people grow and build. I see that for myself as well. I've tried to change my attitude to that, and I feel like it's yielding the results. So,
well, you're getting some fans out there.
Oh,
yep.
Love to see it.
My mate Eric says you're good.
Love to see it. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. That's my first compliment of the commentary debut. So.
There you go. No problem.
But so here we have the guys going around behind the safety car. See, the safety car is not going immensely quick, but the lights are off now, so actually
so there we're going to go racing.
Up.
Now, you just did this. How hard is it as the leader of the race? You just did it and you won the race, but you got a brilliant start out of the carousel. Take us through what this man should do now.
So what I tried to do is I tried to really square up the exit of the carousel. The problem is that there's a bump at the apex, and you'll probably see them go over it now, where I got the car quite a bit sideways. So,
yes, I noticed that.
Yeah, so let's see how this one goes. He hasn't squared it off just as much. He's actually waiting for the start, which is actually not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I think he's gone now.
Now he's gone, yeah.
That was a good way of doing it.
Morris then leads.
Yep.
Here we go. We are underway again. Bryson Morris leads the way into the first corner here at Mid-Ohio. And nicely taking us through it was Raoul Hyman, who just did exactly that not an hour ago to win his race. Now, will this happen again as Ryan Sheehan and the 66, the man from Austin, Texas, in second place, going through there in the 66. Now, here's the pole man, the number 8 on the inside in the red, white and blue. The number 8 trying to make his way through. That's Andre Castro. His first F4 Americas race, and he's down there in 4th position in the middle of this sandwich that you see there. The 76 of Gabriel Fonseca, the Brazilian, right behind him.
Oh, here comes a move. It's Andre going to the inside to try and overtake. I think that's Noah Ping.
Yep, nicely done too, and he's got through.
Yep,
that's a great maneuver.
That's a good move on cold tyres.
Yep, very
Takes
good.
a lot of confidence to do that.
Yep. And through the S's they come then, and a restart. 18 minutes to go, and everybody back in dial. How hard is it to dial yourself back in after a stop like that?
The difficulty is actually the tyre temperatures.
Okay.
And also, I mean, here for some reason, after a safety car restart, the tyres just didn't come back. So everyone's going to be driving around on ice at the moment. Very slippery. There's a lot of entry and stability.
And when does that go away? When do you feel the 100% grip?
See, I think it's a combination of the tires coming into an operating temperature, so that was around lap 4, lap 5.
Right.
But it's also the dirt on the tires, because when you're warming tires here, it's pretty much a one line through the circuit. So when you warm the tires and you're weaving all over the place, you're actually also picking up marbles.
Yeah.
So
good point.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult thing to get the tires ready, get the car ready to be at peak performance straight away. But it looks like Bryson Morris has done a pretty good job of that, and so has the rest of the top 10.
Here comes Alex Berg on the outside of the keyhole in that pink helmet and trying to make it through on the 22.
Oh.
The Canadian really pushing on now. This is good stuff. Just 15 years of age, as many of them are.
So that's Alex Berg and Arturo Flores.
Yep.
Alex got to be careful here, because it looks like Alam Isambard, is looking to make a move as well.
This is a big race for the man Bryson Morris in the lead at the moment. He's 5th in the championship, but he's only 1 point behind Noah Ping, and if he can hold on to this, he could get ahead of both Ping and Rivers in the championship chase. And remember, 3 races this weekend, so this already turning out for a big race for Morris. Sheehan in second place, yet to win a race, had a pole position. Christensen in third, Castro fourth, Ping now in fifth place. So as I said, that battle between Morris and Ping for championship positions, all important here in race 1. 2 to come from the rest of the weekend.
So I was going to say the man on the move looks like Matt Christensen. He's right up the back of Ryan Sheehan. But actually in that last sector, Andre Castro has really pulled the gap down. So it looks like he's rediscovering some of the pace that took him to pole position.
Yeah, I mentioned Circuit of the Americas. Ryan Sheehan, good example. Went to the Circuit of the Americas with his dad. Watched the Formula One race and said, you know what, I want to do that. And so Dad went, don't know if I've got the wallet for that, but he's been working around Austin feverishly getting sponsorship and has done a great job of putting Ryan in a seat and giving him a chance to fulfill his dream, as many of you are watching. That is the dream, is to become a Formula One driver. And of course they race at the Circuit of the Americas in October, and I'm sure many of these youngsters will be tuning in throughout the season to watch their heroes race, including Ryan Sheehan at the 66.
So I want to be a racing driver dad is the words that no parent wants to hear.
No!
Because anyone who's been in the sport long enough knows just how much work, effort and funding has to go into it. But I mean, look, the rewards at the end of the road are very high. And look, it's an incredible sport.
Yeah, and I tell you what, people come from all walks of life. So I was talking to Maddie Auster yesterday from Fort Worth in Texas. She was second in the world in cheerleading with 4 national titles. And if you've ever watched cheerleading demonstrations and stuff, they're fearless, and she's up there. But she's had a completely different career change, and now she's racing. So good for her, just 17 years of age.
That's pretty incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there's a lot of parallels in terms of the skill.
Because they're death-defying.
But you also have to turn it on. You know, if you make a small mistake in cheerleading,
absolutely,
you might not execute the
movement. And you've got to trust your team.
And it's the same here. If your muscles are tight at the start of the race or during the race when you're trying to push, you'll make small mistakes. I mean, it's millimeters on the brake that makes the difference in these cars.
Well, Morris doing a good job so far. With 14 minutes to go, he's pulled away from Sheehan, who's still holding on to second place. The gap 1.2 seconds. Christensen, though, still putting the pressure on this man. Sheehan at the moment in the 66.
Yep, that's right. It looks like Brian really has the pace to maintain that gap. But let's see how it develops as the cars will change balance. You know, the balance of the way the handling is. That'll be happening right about now.
Well, I tell you what, Christensen's got every reason to be motivated today. Hughes is a no-show, really. He's 1 lap down at the moment, and I think he was probably involved in that incident because he's nowhere, Lockie, at the moment. So a big opportunity for the championship to get a shake-up after this race.
That's correct. So let's see if Matt can capitalize. But we know that he's also focused on consistency. So I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to be, you know, sending it for the big result. He's probably aware that he needs to have a consistent high point scoring position.
Just watch the Argentinian Carrera going up to 13th place. He's a guy you've raced against before.
Yeah, so that's Giorgio Carrara. He's actually quite experienced. I raced with him in FIA Formula 3 for a couple races. I know he raced in, I think it was Spa and the Red Bull Ring. So he was racing with Genzo after winning a couple races in the Formula 4 Spanish Championship. So there's a guy with a lot of experience, a lot of talent. But I ran into him earlier on in the weekend, and he said that he hasn't been racing in cars for quite a while. I believe he signed a contract to be racing karts professionally. So to come back after not being in a car and rediscover the techniques, the process required to drive a car fast. I also know that it was the team, I believe it's International Motorsports. I might have the name a little bit wrong there.
No, that's
but they've called him up to ask him to help out in terms of setup and things like that. So I know that the results might not quite show his talent level, but let's see what he can do. I'm sure over the weekend he'll be getting stronger and stronger. So let's see how he's able to help the team and how they're able to work together to achieve a result.
Yeah, interesting that so many have come from different walks of life. We've got a Uruguayan out there, we've got an Argentinian, obviously we've got Canadians out there, and a hot bunch of Americans. And I'm glad to see that. This is what Tony Perella and what the hopes of the FIA, they've got a delegate here this weekend, but that's what the FIA want out of this championship, and that's certainly what Tony Perella wants, is to see Americans push to the limit. We're looking at this number 8 car, the future star racing car. We saw Chloe Chambers in that car last year. She's gone on to the W Series. We've seen the likes of, in FR anyway, same colours, same team, and our Trans Am champion, Ernie Francis Jr., now in Indy Lights, he got the opportunity to race in that car. So there are opportunities there, and the teams and the organisers are creating both diversity and future star opportunities for all these youngsters, and that's really good to see. And it's great to see the likes of Al Unser Jr., such a great star in his own time, putting back, giving back, and giving time and energy into these youngsters. Scott Goodyear, as well as the race director, I know he's bought everybody a stopwatch this weekend to just kind of give you old school way of getting a little bit of learning done in your junior ranks, and it's great to see.
That's right. I mean, so Scott's given us all stopwatches, old school. So he says
that so you won't be late to the drivers' meeting, or what?
Well, I mean, maybe, but he actually said he wants us to use it for visualization. So he wants us to close our eyes, you start the stopwatch, you do a lap, and when you stop the stopwatch, obviously at the start-finish line in your mind, it should be at the correct lap time. So he's given us that.
Been doing that for years.
Yeah, but he says if we use our iPhones, then we'll probably get distracted. So that's why he's given us the old school style stopwatches. And yeah, I mean, Al Unser, you mentioned him. There's a guy whose hand I always like to shake because I can see his ring.
Yes,
and it's bad. I actually told him. Yes. I told him. I shook his hand and I turned it over and I was like, "Wow, look at this! I want one of these."
I saw Roberto Moreno. He's involved in TJ.
He's actually one of our driver coaches.
There you go.
And
I saw him at Monaco just a few weeks ago.
Oh, really? That's right. He was actually driving.
Racing.
Yeah, he was driving. He was telling me about that, and he actually used that experience to help us because he was telling us about. He kind of helps a bit on the mental coaching side as well because of his experience.
Yeah.
And he knows what has worked for him and what hasn't worked for him. And then he also knows that what works for him isn't necessarily what's going to work for us.
Yeah.
So he's quite open in that regard, and it's really great to bounce ideas off of him. So in addition to helping us on track, which him and Victor Vanzoni he helps us on the mental preparation, which is pretty awesome.
All right, well, we're looking at the 76 of Fonseca, another Brazilian following in the footsteps of Roberto Moreno, of course, one of the greats, and has been for many, many a year. I remember his Formula 3 days, and of course going all the way to Formula 1. But Fonseca following in the footsteps. He's behind Castro, the pole man, in 4th place. Is currently in 5th place at the moment. But it's Morris, Sheehan and Christensen, as it has been throughout the restart of this one. We had a red flag. We had about 15 minutes of waiting to clean up some debris, but Morris took advantage at the start and hasn't looked back so far. And this is, like I said, a big day for Bryson Morris. He's had one win at NOLA in race 2, and he's been consistent. He's had a DNF at NOLA too. But Road America, he's back up there with a couple of decent finishes in the 2nd and 3rd race. But he'd like to add to that first win of the year. And we're getting to the second half of the season. Sheehan doing a good job. He stayed with the leader, Morris, and he's got away from Christensen, and that's good work by the Texan.
So Sheehan last time around actually has the fastest lap of the race.
There you go.
So for the last 3 laps, I've been looking at the gap. It was 1.2, then it went back down to 1.0, stayed at 1.0, and now it's gone down to 0.7. But we know that passing is quite difficult on this circuit. So let's see if he can get it done. Another
big crash, nasty crash, and that's the 45.
Christensen. That's Christensen, Mr. Consistent.
That was something that must have been mechanical in some way because he just suddenly pelted him. He almost turned into the wall there.
That's very, very odd. Let's just hope he's okay.
Odd.
That's the first
Well, that's
thing.
going to be another safety car with 8 minutes to go.
Let's hope he gets out unscathed.
Yeah, let's hope he's okay. But yeah, that was a real change in this race. Was just settling into a really good battle for 1st and 2nd. As you mentioned, Sheehan had just gone quickest and was right there. And as you can see, he is right there with the leader. And yes, no surprise, a full course yellow. And that could well end up in a red flag if that
I think it perhaps might be. Because they're there.
So Matt Christian just suddenly took a left turn unexpectedly there, as though, well, the obvious thing to do at that turn is to come through turn 1 and go onto the grass. That can vaunt you into the into a left turn, but it looked like he was on the inside, so it was an odd one.
Yeah, so that was out of turn 2. I know you can get a big snap of oversteer there, and if you overcorrect it, perhaps that might be what happened. But let's wait for the replay. I mean, the first thing is that he's all okay. Be good to see him obviously get out the car and make his way back.
I'll tell you, the man making some real hay at the moment here in Mid-Ohio, that's Alex Berg. He was in the commentary booth, so it's a good omen, Raoul, to be here, because Berg up to 5th place.
Yeah, love to hear it. Love to hear it.
His father, a former Formula 1 star in his own right, only did 9 races, I say star. Here's an irony. Poor old Alan Berg, Alex's dad, went into Formula 3 in 1983, and if you know your history, you'll know that's when Martin Brundle and Ayrton Senna were in Formula 3, so good luck.
So Alex has actually got the fastest lap at the moment. I mean, it's only by, I think, 200ths or something like that. I'm not quite sure what the format is here, where in Formula Regional, the fastest lap of the race sets the grid for race 2. So if that's the same, which I'm not 100% sure on, then he'll be on pole. So you've got, at the moment, we've got Alex Berg with a 28.367. Then it's Ryan Shahan with a 28.374.
Yep.
And then Gabriel Fonseca with a 28.384.
And then your race 3 time is your second best qualifying, or is it?
The race 3 grid position is the race 2.
Oh, okay.
But again, I'm not 100% sure if it's the same for F4. But if that is the case,
the rules are pretty similar, so that would not surprise me. Yeah.
But I mean, if that's the case, then our grid is looking like Alex Berg from Ryan Shahan from Gabriel Fonseca, and then I think it's Arturo Flores. No, he's a 29.5. Then it's Bryson Morris, I believe, and then of course Andre Castro.
Yep.
So
Andre Castro, by the way, has done a good job of recovery. He's up to 3rd now, the pole man. His first race in F4, USF Junior, which is the same car, I think. It's pretty similar in terms of setup and so on. Yeah. So he's got some experience. I talked to Scott Goodyear about him earlier in the weekend. He said he's not surprised to see him on pole position, even though it's his first race. So
let's not forget, Andre, I don't believe USF does a standing start. So, well, I'm not too sure, but I know the Road to Indy doesn't, so I wouldn't see why USF Juniors is going to be doing standing starts. So that might have been his first ever standing start.
Tell you what, while we're under caution, Raoul, talk a little bit about your hopes this year, because you've got the unbelievable thing that just didn't exist 10 years ago, and you've just come at the right time. Honda have offered an amazing prize for whoever wins your championship. Tell us.
Yeah, so that's correct. I mean, that was the huge attracting factor for me to come and race in this championship. So to give you some background, you've got a scholarship from Honda, which will take the champion of Formula Regional Americas straight into Super Formula.
In Japan.
Exactly, yeah. So Super Formula is actually the fastest cars in the world outside of Formula 1. So it's an extreme, incredible opportunity. And I mean, for someone like me, where we do not have the financial backing to kind of make that happen ourselves, that is the only option in terms of career progression for me. So I knew that if I was going to come back after 2.5 years, I needed to come back to racing, because after 2019, we had a few opportunities that didn't materialize due to the pandemic. I was supposed to be racing in Japan, but because of the travel restrictions, I wasn't able to do that. So I knew if I was going to come and race again after 2.5 years, I needed to go somewhere where the chance of winning, or the prospect of winning, would open up doors for my career. There's no point in going somewhere, doing a good job, and then at the end of the year you are where you started. I needed something where I could say, right, this is the target, and that secures me a seat for the next step. So huge credit to Honda for putting that together, and I really hope that I and TJ Speed and I are able to continue doing the job that we're doing. We're leading the championship at the moment. We've had 4 wins out of the 7 races, I believe, and there's still a long way to go. So there's a lot of work to do. We're going to keep our head down, and hopefully we can come away with that scholarship.
You know, perfectly described there. That is such a great opportunity. And just to put it in perspective, the former Formula Nippon Championship, I know it well, is now the Super Formula Championship. When you think about Alex Palou, IndyCar champion, when you think about Pierre Gasly, when you think about Pato O'Ward, all have taken part in that championship over the years. So the opportunity to get from there to potentially Formula 1 is huge.
I mean, look at some of the guys that have come through there. As you mentioned, Alex Palou won car in his 2nd year after driving Super Formula. You've got Nick Cassidy, who's racing,
Nick Cassidy, great example,
I believe it's in Vision Virgin.
Jan Mardenborough.
Jan Mardenborough. You've got Andre Lotterer, just signed to the LMDH program for Porsche. And then, of course, who else? Who else has been there? Narain
over the years, Narain Karthikeyan. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a few
it's a who's
XF1 drivers. I mean, it's an extremely competitive championship.
Yuki Tsunoda.
Yuki, I don't think he did it.
No, he actually did F3.
He did F3.
I tell you what, big news. We're going to lead. The Honda Civic is going to lead him across the flag, and we're going to take the checkered flag at this point because of the incidents we've had. But the big news is that Bryson Morris, doesn't matter how it comes, he'll take it because he took advantage right from the get-go on that first lap incident and strode through to the lead and has never looked back since. Good result for him. Great result also for Ryan Sheehan. Good for him with Kiwi Motorsport. So that's a 1-2 for Crosslink Kiwi Motorsport. Future Star Racing, Andre Castro takes third place in his first F4 Americas outing. He'll be pleased with a podium as well. But we finished under caution and not too surprised, not the way anybody wants to finish a race, but that really does set the weekend alight when it comes to the overall championship, because Lockie Hughes, the Australian for Jay Howard Driver Development, who was leading on 95 points, he still will be, but Mads Christensen has caused a big accident. I've heard he's out of the car, and Nicholas Rivers was in third place, but Noah Ping and Bryson Morris will both move forward, as will Alex Berg, 6th in the championship. All of those were on 65, 66 points, and they'll all move forward, as will Ryan Sheehan, who was on 35 points, 7th in the championship at the beginning of the day. So quite a shake-up. This somewhat stuttered race has actually created quite a little bit of an interest, I would have said, in the overall championship. But that's how it finishes. Well done to Bryson Morris. You've got to be there to win it.
Yep, that's exactly right. I think Bryson's done an incredible job from the start. Then he pulled out a gap where he was able to just manage his pace. And I mean, that's all you can really ask. So incredible job from him. Looking at the championship standings over there, I think that vaults him perhaps to either P2 or P3 in the championship.
Yep.
Depending on where Noah Ping is. Noah Ping's finished 6th. So probably about P2, P3 for Bryson Morris. But those two are the big winners because, of course, you've got Lockie Hughes. He had an unfortunate race. I think he got caught up with the melee at the start. And then, of course, Matt Christensen, he had his unfortunate incident. From what it looked like, I'm not sure that was driver error. So let's just hope he's okay.
Look into that.
Obviously, he's out of the car, but I also hope that the team can get that car ready for tomorrow. Which I'm
two
sure
races tomorrow.
Everyone's going to be pushing to get that done. So actually, he's quite fortunate, or both the team and him are quite fortunate that there's no more racing today for F4, but there are tomorrow. So it might be a late night, but well, let's see what happens.
Listen, Raoul, it's been great having you here. You've got 2 more races tomorrow. Give people a chance to, I don't know, get your social, find out where you are, where can they find you, and what's your number, and how can they start to follow you?
So, I'm on Instagram, Twitter. Both handles are at Raoul Hyman, so that's R-A-O-U-L and Hyman, H-Y-M-A-N. My website is raoulhyman.com.
There you go.
And I'm most active probably on Instagram. Everybody likes a picture. But I do a little bit of Twitter as well. So that's about it. For me, I'm gearing up for the next 2 races tomorrow. Looking forward to getting back on track. Should be fast tomorrow, actually, as in the track conditions, because it'll be a bit cooler in the morning.
Might be some rain as well.
Yeah, it looks like thunder showers. That'll be very interesting. So let's see. I mean, for us, I'm happy if it rains, but with our strategy on tires, it wouldn't really help us because we've saved a set of new tires.
Right.
So if it rains and we go out on wets, then everyone's back.
Yeah.
You know,
but playing field is equal.
Yeah. So, but let's see how it goes. But here we have Bryson getting out the car. Obviously, very happy with the job he would have done. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling that he must be going through right now.
Ah, yes. He'll have to talk to John Phippen in a moment, I'm sure.
He's just playing it cool.
Yeah, he's playing it cool. Now we got the celebration. Well done, Bryson.
Have some of that.
Excellent stuff and really good racing as well. We'll hear from him in a moment. My thanks to Raoul Hyman. Sleep well and sleep fast, and come back and do some more tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Not at all.
Really enjoyed commentating.
Good to catch up with you again. It's been a while.
Yep. It was indeed.
All right, so in a moment we'll hear from our winner of Race 1 in F4 Americas, and we'll see that smile. We'll see it in about, there it is. Tall figure, and well done to him, and well done to Crosslink Kiwi Motorsport, Tina and Gary in charge of that, and I put it all down to Mo. He's the top mechanic there, youngster there. So let's go down to John Phippen. He's got our winner, Bryson Morris.
Thanks, Jonathan. Here with Bryson Morris, his 2nd win on the season. Bryson, congratulations. What a dynamite start.
Yeah, thank you. It was a really good start. I was able to get around Andre on turn 1, and then I was able to get a good gap down to turn 2. I didn't have to block, and then it just kept building.
Any problems with the restarts?
No, restart felt pretty good. Ryan was pretty close on it, but I hit turn 1 pretty well, and I was able to get a gap again, so I didn't need to block into turn 2.
Congratulations on your second win. Great job, Jonathan.
So, second win for Bryson Morris. Well done to him, and here's confirmation of the results. Crosslink Kiwi Motorsports with a 1-2, and then Future Star Racing, third place for the poleman Andre Castro in his debut. Great stuff from Ryan Sheehan. He takes second place for Austin, Texas. Gabriel Fonseca is fourth in the Crosslink Kiwi Motorsport car for Brazil. Alex Berg up to fifth place for Doran Kroll competition. Velocity Racing Development, Noah Ping in sixth place. Arturo Flores for Ganella Racing. Likewise, Carl Bennett in eighth position. Seth Brown for J. Howard Driver Development takes ninth. And Alan Isam Bard takes 10th for International Motorsports. So, some good results there, some interesting results there too, and a host of Americans all at the sharp end. So let's take a look at some of the highlights of what was a staccato race in many ways, because it stopped and started, but it was great all the same. And at the start, Castro did not get away well. He did not have a good start. And then suddenly, Jay Howard's cars go round. So too does the number 2. And that caused chaos behind. A lot of dust and dirt. We went under safety. Not a surprise. We cleared up the debris, and away went Bryson Morris. From there on in, he was chased hard by Ryan Sheehan. And even though Castro came through to third place, there was no stopping the man at the front, Bryson Morris. There was another stoppage to the race itself, but it didn't stop him. And while Ryan Sheehan kept him honest, it was all going to be Bryson Morris all the way to the line, his second win of the season. We'll take a short break here from Mid-Ohio. More action coming up, and it's the big monster boys coming up. Can't wait for a bit of Trans Am coming your way.
Everything in our garage is inspired by our racing spirit. Racing for a great deal on the Honda CR-V. Only at the Honda Dream Garage Spring Event.